Good evening. We got a great show. Going to be talking Bitcoin. Wanted to start with this article from Cointelegraph about Roger Ver. Roger is one of the strangest people in Bitcoin, and that's saying something. It's also personal for me, as it was Roger who really took me down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, though inadvertently. When Roger was pushing Bitcoin Cash in 2017 as being better than Bitcoin, it forced me to really look into this claim, and in the process of debunking it, I came away not only believing that Bitcoin was better than Bitcoin Cash, it showed me Bitcoin was better than everything. So I really have to thank Roger for that, and I like him because he's insane. Credit to the author of this piece, Andrew Fenton, picking out a great opening quote. "I considered killing myself temporarily, going into cryonic suspension, and then coming out later when the technology is better, to avoid going to prison." It begins, even for the most freedom-loving libertarian. This seems extreme, but Ver had worked out a way to escape his own death by having himself cryonically preserved to be revived at a later date. At 20 years old, Ver had already signed up with the Arizona life extension company Alcor to be frozen after death, long before he was handed a 10-month prison stretch in 2002 for selling firecrackers on eBay. Apparently, Roger Ver knew about Alcor life extension all the way in 1999, the same company Hal Finney used to freeze himself 15 years later. Important to note that Roger does lie, or at least stretches the truth, like the whole selling firecrackers narrative is his story. That's not what he was charged with. But at any rate, he may very well have known about Alcor back then, which is wild. It seems like fake science to me, but the fact that some prominent Bitcoiners are attached to this company Alcor really makes you think. If time travel is real, you gotta figure there are certain periods in history that are attractive and not attractive to go to. And a big one has to be the creation of Bitcoin. There's only so many moments in time where you can, one, become rich, but number two, do it without becoming famous. Yeah, you could time travel and become Rockefeller or Genghis Khan, but I don't know, it seems like that would be a lot of work. Bitcoin has to attract some time travelers, just because it's a lazy way to make billions. So, Roger Ver, Hal Finney, Ralph Merkle, all freezing themselves is probably worth paying attention to. So the article continues, now 42, and with a fortune he vaguely refers to as being in the billions, the Bitcoin Cash proponent intends to switch his investment focus to cryonics over the next decade, in the hopes of improving the experimental technology. Rather than investing in cryptocurrency stuff, I want to focus on the extreme life extension technologies, because if you die, you can't enjoy your life anymore. Spoken like a true Redditor. Yes, when you die, that's it. Unless. But anyway, when Roger refers to being a billionaire, that might actually be true. Guys like Richard Hart say they're billionaires, but then walk it back and say, but I never said what I had billions of, it's disingenuous. But Roger put hundreds of thousands of dollars into Bitcoin when they were worth pennies. So, even with a series of bad investments, the man is rich. If Ver gets run over by a bus tomorrow, there's a card in his wallet and notes on his phone with instructions to immediately get in touch with Alcor to freeze his body, with the hope of eventual resurrection. That's certainly my hope, he says, adding wryly. The downside of that is that the company's in Arizona, and I'm zipping all over the world. It goes on to review how Roger is promoting Bitcoin Cash. That is nothing new. Anytime he speaks to someone, the interviewer has to entertain that. If you've heard Roger talk about Bitcoin Cash once, you've heard it all before. Just marketing speak. But further down, there's some interesting insight on his prison stay for selling firecrackers. Prison life was particularly tough on a freedom-loving libertarian, though he admits the boring parts were preferable to anything exciting happening. Excitement in prison is never ever good excitement, he says. It's only bad excitement. And the longest 10 months of my life also by far. A few days after he arrived, a prison guard planted a shiv on him and started screaming questions about who Ver planned to murder, convincing Ver he'd get another 2 years on his sentence. Shocked, Ver began to cry, pleading with the guard, "It's not mine, it's not mine. I don't know where it came from." Seeing his obvious distress, the guard suddenly smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "Relax, I'm just kidding with you. Have a seat." Ver thinks of this as psychological torture. I think he was just bored, and the entertainment for him was, "Let's talk to this new guy," he says. The prisoners know the guards can do whatever they want. I don't know if he was trying to instill that on a new guy. I think that everybody there knows it real quickly that that's the case. Pretty messed up, and even though I think the man exaggerates, that story sounds real. On his final day, he found his breakthrough, albeit minor, moment of vengeance. Ver recalls what the prison guard said on his way out the door. "Oh, you'll be back." I said, "No, I won't, but you'll be back. You'll come here every day until the day you retire." Ooh! Got his ass. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the scenario is probably what Roger wanted to happen in his head. There's no way that guard said that to him. You got to believe Roger was one of the most well-behaved prisoners they had. So would a guard really say, "You'll be back"? I don't know. Ver made his first million the year after he was released, and the probation officers had to come visit him at his opulent new apartment in Santana Row, San Jose. It was kind of an interesting experience to have these people. They're supposed to be the boss of me and telling me what a horrible person I am and keeping an eye on me to make sure I don't do anything wrong. But I'm living in one of the fanciest apartment complexes in Silicon Valley, he says. I had a lot more financial power than they did, but they had a lot more legal power over me and my life, so it was kind of an uneasy imbalance of power. Anarcho-capitalist discovers that laws exist. It goes on to speak about his journey into Bitcoin and wraps up, while it has made him an extremely wealthy man, crypto has also given Ver's life a meaning and purpose that it may not otherwise have had. The closest answer I can come up with is that the meaning of life is to enjoy the journey of your life each day, he says. So figure out what makes you happy and try to do that. Wise words to live by. Coming up, we got problems. I've identified 3 problems with Bitcoin, and it's not the usual criticisms. It's 3 sneaky issues going on right now that could keep Bitcoin from taking over. We're making Roger proud. Right after these messages.
There will come a time on the planet Earth when science and technology will be long forgotten, when humanity will rise from the ashes of nuclear holocaust, when wizards will rule the world. 20th Century Fox presents Wizards, a futuristic fantasy epic born in the mind of Ralph Bakshi, the master of animated magic. It is the story of 2 brothers, Avatar and Black Wolf, powerful wizards, and mortal enemies from the day they were born. Avatar, the good, who rules the peaceful kingdom of Montagar with wisdom
thought science and technology were outlawed millions of years ago.
And magic. Black Wolf, the future Führer.
Attention! Behold!
Who rediscovers the ancient secrets of propaganda, technology, and war. And sends out his mutant armies in a reign of unimaginable terror. In Wizards, you will also meet the lovely Princess Eleanor, the loyal elf Weehawk, and Peace, Black Wolf's evil robot henchman, who is transformed into an avenging instrument of justice. Wizards is a Tolkien world of fairies and elves, sorcerers, and demons. It is shot 10 million years from now, against strange and huge panoramic settings. And it is more fantastic, more enchanting, and more powerful than anything you've seen before. Wizards, the ultimate futuristic fantasy epic.
If we build it, will you come? For 5 years, our team at the Seasteading Institute has extensively researched the possibility of creating floating cities at sea. We're champions of this vision because we believe humanity needs a new blue frontier where we are all free to explore new ways of living together. Are you interested? We're looking for trailblazers. If you dream of living in a small floating city and can afford what it would cost to live in a major metropolis, please fill out our form. We're seeking answers to questions like, how much space would you need to feel comfortable? And what amenities would you want? Maybe we'll see you on a seastead someday. Thanks.
Step into the future of Bitcoin self-custody with the Blockstream Jade. Jade was created with one mission, to make security the top priority when it comes to storing and managing your Bitcoin. Engineers work tirelessly to ensure that Jade is built with the highest standards of security and transparency, which is why they use open source software instead of secure elements. Jade has an intuitive user interface, so you'll be working like a cypherpunk in no time. Seamlessly connect with mobile apps for beginners. Manage your Bitcoin with security and convenience. Bitcoin self-custody is easy. Get Blockstream Jade today.
To start, and this is really small, something that has always bugged me is the Satoshi, the smallest unit of Bitcoin. Named after Bitcoin's creator, 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. Fractions of a Bitcoin didn't matter so much in the early days, but the fact a single Bitcoin is now worth like $30,000 has resulted in this insane price system where everything is 0.0045 or 0.03568. It's just ugly to look at, hard to say, and it's just not realistic to ask people to rewire their brains to stop using whole numbers and understand these values. Also, if you use the Lightning Network, you can go even smaller, and we end up having to price things in millisatoshis. There has to be a change in what we call these transactions. If the price heads where we all think it's going to go, only superpowers like countries are going to be trading in whole Bitcoin. So for regular Bitcoin transactions, the things we use every day, it doesn't make sense to say Bitcoin. We got to label all these little pieces, and I'm not a fan of calling them Satoshis. No disrespect to the powerful creator. It sounds nerdy. It's a mouthful. Saying sats is a little better, but I've talked Bitcoin to enough people that when you start saying Satoshis, you can just see it in their eyes. It sounds bad. You start to lose them. Bits is better to me. I know that term's already used for other things. Some companies do use that term. Cent a Bitcoin, millibits, every company, every wallet provider is free to just make up their own wording, and Despite this being talked about since the beginning, there's still ambiguity. Back in 2010, a user, Rybuck, asked on the Bitcoin Talk forums, anyway, what's the plan for subdividing Bitcoins? Do we go in thousands like the metric system? Millibits, microbits, nanobits? Or do we have names for subdivisions? 100th of a Bitcoin could be a Satoshi, 1,000th of that could be a Molyneux, and 1,000th of that could be an Austrian. I know this might seem unimportant, might seem dumb, but language is important, and getting consensus on these things will hopefully make Bitcoin more palatable for people, make it easier for them to swallow. Problem 2. In a similar vein, another problem that comes up when trying to spread the Bitcoin message is conflict of interest. Anyone who promotes Bitcoin has a conflict in that they are incentivized for the Bitcoin price to go up because they have some. Who would be really into Bitcoin and not own any? When critics call Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, they are wrong about the technology, but in the sense that the people in early benefit from people getting in late, I mean, they're right. So every time me or someone else is talking Bitcoin, going on about financial freedom, peacefully protesting tyranny, helping the poor and unbanked in other countries, it's funny, for all that to happen, I'm getting some money off that. I'm getting paid. If Bitcoin succeeds, my Bitcoin becomes worth more. It should make you question everything that comes out of Bitcoiners' mouths, even if they seem altruistic. Don't just trust, verify.
There's so many things that do so many things better that all it has now is liquidity and more mentions in media, and that's it. That's all it has. Everything else has better tech. Like, it's hilarious.
Problem 3, again, zooming out to even more big picture, what is the biggest existential threat to Bitcoin? It's not a solar flare. It's not AI attacking the humans. It is a sad truth. When people need to choose between safety and freedom, they pick safety. Libertarians might scoff at that comment, but you look at any society and freedoms have to get compromised. Might have this fantasy of living off the grid, being independent, and some can do that, but everyone, there's just no way. People have young kids, people get sick, You can't really be a cowboy if you got a bunch of kids with you and your wife gets eaten by a giant snake or something. You want your little kids running around in a dangerous world? I'm sure there's a tough guy out there saying no problem, but it's just not realistic. Social safety nets, and that's a broad term, create successful societies, but can also make people soft. Like, now, on the other end of the spectrum from the cowboy, you have the soy boy, who just wants stimulus checks sent to them, Amazon camera in their bedroom, every convenience within a 15-minute walk. They are addicted to comfort. They want decisions made for them. So for that population, Bitcoin offers nothing. A huge amount of people don't care if their movement is tracked, their personal conversations are recorded, they're lost causes. No amount of explanation regarding Bitcoin and the empowerment of people it provides is going to change their minds because they don't want power. They want to be powerless. And a lot of people have that mindset. Think about why Bitcoin adoption has plateaued. People just don't care. We can all appreciate William Wallace yelling freedom and think, yeah, I could be like that guy. I could fight back against tyranny. I would fight back if the Count is trying to take my wife. But the reality is, few people are willing to get pulled apart. So, not to end the show on too much gloom and doom, but things to think about. First step to solving a problem is identifying it. If it makes you feel better, I just checked, and Bitcoin remains the most secure, decentralized money in the world. The blockchain keeps adding new blocks every 10 minutes. These problems can be solved with a shift in how people think. So I think it's important to not just surround yourself with people who are pro-Bitcoin all the time. Their critiques might be valid, and even if not, going on a quest to debunk them might take you places you've never been before.
Love,
Thanks for watching.
exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you. And love, life's sweetest reward. Let it flow, it flows back